Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have Imani Adia with me. Hey, Imani.
Hey, Kimberly.
I am so excited to see you again. Imani and I went through our train the trainer for hypnosis and NLP and coaching and EFT together, and it was a it was one of the toughest trainings I ever did.
And it was long.
It was long, 18 days long every day, and every day they put us out of our comfort zone. As soon as we thought, "Okay," they pushed us out of our comfort zone, we did what they asked us to do, and the next day, they made it harder,
Right. And we just kept showing up though, and we got through it. We
and we
got
got
through it.
through it. And we're certified now, so that's
We
exciting.
are. Woo, 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 woo.
Yeah,
Shout out to
that's
us.
great. So just so people can know you, I'm gonna read your bio. Imani Adia is the proud founder and CEO of Soul 360, where she empowers visionaries, leaders, and entrepreneurs with the tools and knowledge to become the best version of themselves. Her three-part framework centers around releasing what is holding you back, creating the life you desire most, and honoring yourself by taking action. From airwaves to the stage, Imani has lent her voice to conversations around mindset, manifestation, emotional wellness, and social justice. She has worked with the Institute of African American Research, the Laura Coates Show, and CUNY, City University of New York. She is a mindset coach, master practitioner of NLP and hypnosis. All right. So, Imani, just so people can know you, tell us your story.
Yes. So I originally got into this work of doing NLP and mindset coaching just out of me originally wanting to go on this soul searching journey. And so just to take us back a little bit, I think a really pivotal moment in my life for me was my first year of college. And I was in my first year of college, I was in a chemistry class, and I was like, I don't like this at all. This is not for me. And being in that class and just seeing how I was suffocating, like my soul was, compared to other students who were in there and they were, even if they were struggling, they were still having a great time. Like they were on fire about the work that they were doing. And I just knew that that is something that was a feeling that I also wanted to feel. And I came in thinking that I was going to go straight through school, chemistry, end up being a doctor. You know, that was the route that I had put myself on really my whole entire life. And then all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, I didn't have a plan. And funny enough, it was really interesting. I have a younger brother, and when he was probably around 4 years old, he literally was like, "You should be a life coach." And it was just so interesting because you have this little 4 year old telling me what he thinks I should be. And I'm like, first of all, where did he get this from? You know, where did he get this from? And secondly, that's not the plan that I have for myself. But really, on this journey that I had started during school of just really searching for what lights me up inside, what brings me joy. And I absolutely love being able to speak with people just naturally, being able to connect with them, being able to help and to guide where I can. And now I just have the tools to be able to do that. And in that journey of going from STEM or chemistry, I really found my place in communications, go figure, because I talk all the time right now, or that's what I'm in. Um, and specifically for my senior year, I ended up doing a thesis where I created a one woman show that was 85 minutes long. And that right there was also a stretch for me because last time I was on a stage was sixth grade doing a play, you know? So it was like, how am I getting here? But I knew it was something that I enjoyed and I really connected with the power of storytelling and how powerful, whether it's you telling your story of the past or you telling your story of the present or you writing your story of the future, how it can really have an impact on our lives and connect us with each other and also connect us with ourselves. So I'm really big on storytelling and just being able to share and connect with people in that way.
Beautiful. So, when you were growing up, what did you think you were going to be when you grow up?
A doctor specifically, I knew that I wanted to go into neuro, which is funny, right? Because I'm still in the same so in some aspect working with the brain, right? But it's just on the mindset side. I still go and I look up different research articles, and that's where I pull statistics from, and I read them. That's something that I've always enjoyed. I've always enjoyed research. And so being able to still kind of incorporate something that I loved as a child and just know that I took a different path, but it in some ways still led me to the same place of just wanting to help people and wanting to connect with people and still work with the mind. So
Yeah. And then you worked with some different organizations. So the Institute of African American Research, what is that and how did you work with them?
So for the Institute of African American Research, they're actually based in the university or in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And I was really able, that's when I was doing my whole transition into storytelling and really being able to look at different stories of the past, specifically African American stories, and bring that to the forefront. And it was just another way to see how important storytelling is and also how important it is to look at the past, but specifically in your own family. So I was able to do that research within my own family, and talk to my grandmothers and really analyze their stories, but also go to the library and also learn about what was going on during their time and kind of weave together the story of the past and the present with my own experiences. And that was just a project that I thoroughly enjoyed working with them on just because it was a gift to my family and also a gift to myself, but also something that, once again, just sharing those stories with other people.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, do you have like I love to read biographies. Do you have any specific special characters from history that or people from history that you're like, "Oh, I really resonate with this person. This is one of the my favorite biographies I ever read."
Yes. Okay. So one of my favorite biographies is actually by Cicely Tyson. The biography name is The Woman That I Am. I'm a look because
Uh-huh.
it's right here. Just as I am. Just as I am by Cicely Tyson. I absolutely love her story. And it's very interesting because when I was growing up, I knew about her. And I had seen her in different movies and different roles that she had played. And she always did a phenomenal job, right? And I really became intrigued with her when I read her book. And interestingly enough, she actually passed away before she did any press conferences around her book. And in her book, she stated how someone around her always was like, "When are you going to write a book? Or when are you going to talk more?" And she stated that she was write a book when she had something to say. And even though she passed away before, people could ask the questions and really get to sit down with her and ask her about the book, I think everything that she needed to say was in the book. And just through her life, once again, that storytelling, I was able to connect with her on a different level. And also, once again, be able to see how people grew up in the past, but also what is that pivotal moment that people have within themselves that say, "I'm going to go for it." And for her, it was sitting, she was working, and one of her coworkers actually was having a retirement party. And at this retirement party, they were given a gift, and the gift ended up being a watch. And Cicely Tyson literally said out loud during right after the party when they went back to work that she's not going to work at a place for 30 years and only get a watch. She can buy her own watch. And for her, that was her moment, right? Of saying, "This is not for me. I don't enjoy the work that I'm doing here. And after 30 years, the only thing you're going to do is give me a watch. You can keep that watch." And that really started her journey of what lights me up inside. And I just think that's so interesting. I always find those pivotal moments that people have in their lives. And like for me, it was when I was in college. For her, it was at her job. So I always find that amazing.
Yeah. So when you work with people, what do people come to see you for? And are they looking for that pivotal point? Are they just looking to see what direction to go?
It really just depends where people are at the moment. There's some people who know that they need their breakthrough, and there are other people who are ready to change. They just don't know what that is yet. Um, and whatever phase that you're in or whatever moment that you're in, everyone though is ready to have that transformation. they're ready to become a better version of themselves. And that's why I really enjoy working with people, because that's something that I value personally every day. It's just, how can I show up as a better person for myself, for my family, for my community, for strangers that just pass me on the street? How can I show up better? And so to have people who, to know that you're not alone in just wanting to be the best version of yourself, I think sometimes through life, we can just, get in our comfort zones because that's maybe what we've seen other people do. And you're not really pushed as much to stretch yourself. And that's just because naturally, as human beings, we like to stay in our comfort zone. Like literally, our bodies like to stay safe.
Mhm.
And so, being willing to push yourself and say to yourself, even though this may make me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to do it anyway. Even though I am afraid or I'm scared, I'm going to do it anyway, because I know on the other side of it, I'll come out with more clarity. I'll come out with more alignment. I will be just a better version of myself. So that's what I really love.
Right. So how did your journey start? So you went from basically like pre-med, you went into
Yeah.
communications,
Hmm.
but how did you go from that communication to degree to doing what you're doing now? So, um, like putting out your shingle as I'm a life coach or, this is my program.
Hmm.
How did you make that transition and get started?
So interestingly enough, with my show, there are moments where I'll give a bit background about the show. So the background is about my personal life growing up in America, but specifically being a Black girl, a Black young lady, to then becoming a Black woman. And just what that experience was like. So to see Trayvon Martin on the news as a little girl, what did that do to me? And what did that say to me? And then also just to be in an environment where my parents are both HBCU grads, which are historically Black colleges and universities, and what it meant to go to homecoming every year and to be in that environment where I just immediately felt so much love. And just those different contrasts of those high and low moments, right? And so a lot of people resonated with the show, just in general, of just specifically those moments where you know that you love your family so much, or you know that you love someone so much, and to see them have to go through hardships is just difficult. And so being able to see how much it resonated with people, I wanted to be able to also support people in that way, just in case if anybody was ever watching my show and let's say they had a moment to where they couldn't come back, or they had something that was traumatic that maybe even happened, um, or just an experience that was too much, just because they could resonate with the show so much. How can I support, and how can I help, and how can I build on this storytelling? And that's where it really came from. And I found that through coaching, really, you have the opportunity to just help people navigate what we call life. And what I've really noticed about doing coaching, and what I noticed during my show specifically, a lot of the work that I did was alone. Like I was by myself doing this work. It was also work that I had to do on myself, right? I was literally looking at different stories in history that can just be a lot, and it can be exhausting to have to face those different things, even the things that happened to my grandmothers. Um, they have stories of having to go through, or people wanting them go through a back door just because of the color of their skin, or working in homes of white people, just all these different things that I had to face, but also facing myself and facing my own life, and whatever moments that I had were also hardships, but also the joy of it all, of my life and what it encompassed. And it was a lot of me sitting down and being with myself. And I realized that even though the work that I ask people to do is to sit with themselves, it's so much better to know that you're not sitting alone.
Yeah.
And so that's the support, right? It's, I'm asking you the questions, I'm guiding you. And even though I am asking you to do something, right, even if it's sitting in silence, or it's journaling, or it's prompting you to think about something that you haven't had to think about in a while, right? Because you've just brushed it under the rug. Well, let's uncover the rug together. And so I'm asking you to do this with yourself,
Mhm.
but you're not by yourself.
I love that. And we all need and want support, loving,
Mm-hmm.
kind support, gentle support, just enough to help us keep moving along without getting stuck or feeling,
Right.
like you said, alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to go back a little bit again to just, your culture growing up as a Black child, Black woman. And you've been doing this, research on your family and just how life was.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were going to give advice to, young ladies, even, children, grade school, high school, college age, uh, uh, Black women coming up in America or anywhere in the world, of the
Mm-hmm.
things you've learned, what advice would you give them? How would you help them as far as what kind of mindset could they have that can open up possibilities for them and to kind of like, yes, those things happened and that we all look back and see the terrible things that have happened in different cultures, even with Indians in this country where the Trail of Tears, there was a lot of evil, terrible things that have happened in the past. And a lot of times people have been treated very poorly. But
Mm-hmm.
and that comes up in our DNA, that comes up through our ancestry. And sometimes we have those feelings even inside and we wonder where did they come from. So if you were speaking to young women, young girls coming up, what advice would you give them? How would you talk to them about how they should think about themselves?
Yes, my number one thing is, and I'm going to say this directly to the camera, you are worthy. And so the reason why I say that is because I feel like so many times we get worthiness and value construed. And so you waking up this morning, and whether you say God, whether you say source, whether you say universe, you are here for a reason. You are here for a purpose. So you woke up worthy. You woke up worthy. And then when you look at value, value is what you are adding, right? Whether that's to an organization, to a company, to the marketplace, that's what you are adding. And so whatever desire that you feel in your heart, whatever desire that comes up in your mind, whatever vision that you are worthy of it because you've had it in the first place. And now your value or the skills or experience you may need to reach that goal or to reach that place that you are looking for, maybe that's something that you need to work on. But you have to make sure that you are separating the two. And for me, I did have an issue with worthiness while I was doing my own work. Everything that I say within my business, but also just in general, the way that I live my life, I'm personally doing the work as well. So I'm not telling people like, oh, you should do this. It's like, this is a journey that I have been on and I'm continuing to do. And so I had my own journey with worthiness. And it was actually really interesting because growing up, I always felt very confident in who I was, just from the way that my parents raised me, but also I had amazing teachers and mentors who always poured into me. I also, though, was an A plus student. And I realized that a lot of my worthiness I had attached to a grade.
Mhm.
A lot of my worthiness I attached to people liking me or the accolades that I had achieved. And I realized that I had an issue with worthiness when I was actually working on money beliefs and I was working on my mindset. And what came up for me when I was doing this last release of just not feeling like I deserved the money was this feeling of worthiness actually came up of me not being deserving of this money. And what I did is going back on my timeline, my body and my brain and my soul literally took me back to the moment of where I could see two enslaved people with a man and a woman, and you can tell that they were in a cabin and they just looked so drained and exhausted, and everything on their faces said, like, I'm worthless. And in that moment, that's probably how they felt. Um and that's when it clicked for me that generational wounds are so powerful and they're so strong, and we don't talk about them enough. And it's one of those things where you may be carrying something that's not even yours to carry. It's just been passed down. And so that's another thing that I would want to share with people, no matter who you are. It's just that you may be carrying something intergenerationally that you may not even know. And I think I started to uncover that though when I started speaking to my grandmothers and the way that they were treated in this country, especially with my grandmother who is an immigrant from Jamaica. She didn't even know what it meant to be Black, and she didn't really understand race until she got to this country, and just it just seemed so different. And so to hear my grandmother's stories, I started to uncover just the way that they felt that they always had to show up. But that's something that a lot of Black women feel that they have to do. You have to be strong. You have to be twice as good. And if you're not, then will you won't get this opportunity. And so you have to work twice as hard and you have to be the best. And you also have to fit in a certain box, and you're not allowed to be angry, which is like you can't express your emotions. And when you don't express your emotions, when you don't release them, just another thing that you're carrying. And so, really focusing on releasing burdens and wounds that aren't yours. And then also knowing as you carry these generational wounds, as you carry this generational pain, you also carry generational resilience and you also carry generational wisdom. It is already within you. And so, just as you look at and you release that generational pain, also tap into that generational wisdom and allow it to guide you, allow it to speak to you, allow it to show up in your life, and know that you have resilience within you. And so that's what I would definitely just want to share is just know that you are worthy and release what is not serving you right now, especially those generational beliefs like I have to work twice as hard, I have to be twice as good. Because if you're always feeling like to get the gold, right, you have to work so hard, that usually leads to burnout. It even leads to you not being able to really speak up for yourself because you only feel like there's one opportunity. And if you mess it up, then it won't be there anymore. And so that's the advice that I would give to people.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And just to kind of go this is a little bit different, but um many people have, they're successful. They have this persona of success. Like you said, they've accomplished all these things. Everyone looks at them and goes, "Oh, this person just has it all." It looks like they have
Mm-hmm.
the perfect marriage or the perfect everything. But inside, they're like a duck paddling, 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 and just to keep that persona up, just to show up that way. But inside, they're feeling like sometimes an emptiness, sometimes a just even though they look good on the outside, they're not feeling that good on the inside. And so they feel like they have to keep this persona up. And, how do you work with people like that when they just need that? They need to be able to show up imperfectly.
Mm-hmm. Tapping back into explaining what the difference between worthiness and value is, because the reason why you are going for the accolades or you're going for the $1 million business or you're going for that perfect marriage is because you feel like you need to prove something to somebody else. And so I always ask the question, so who is it that you need to prove something to? And usually it's society, it's expectations, it's your family, or it can be your friends. And that means it has nothing to do with you. And I'm a firm believer that we're all put on this world, we're all put on this planet for us to live in our purpose and to live out our soul's desires. And so when you feel that emptiness within you, it's because you're living for someone else. You're not living with your soul. And our soul is just such the essence of who we are inside. And so it's literally one of those things where if you enjoy gardening and deep down you really want to be a farmer, then just be a farmer, because there are some people who aren't, making the $1 million, but they are so content and so happy with their lives because they're doing what they love. they're doing what lights them up inside. And so it's really about you finding that and putting that at your forefront, and also having a bigger why as well, because it seems like, so within my business, I have a framework of release, create, and honor. And what I hear from that person is that they're not honoring themselves, they're not honoring their soul. And so many times we find ways to honor everybody else, and you have to honor yourself, because when you honor yourself and you honor your and you honor your gifts, that's when you truly serve the world the way that you're supposed to.
Beautiful. I love that. And so let's say someone comes to you and they're like, this is where I'm at, but I want to be this. And when I look at this thing I want to be, it seems so far off. It just seems so far off. And they don't have the mindset to even get there. They just have no idea how they're going to get there or how it's going to, they don't even have clarity on it. So how do you help those people?
Yes. So clarity comes, I always think of getting clarity when it's almost like you're in a boat and you're out in the ocean and you literally can't see anything. And you're just surrounded by all this water. And I like to think of the mist as things that you need to release. And when you release, the mist will clear and you'll finally be able to see the island of where you need to go. And so the first step that I really do is say, I got you. We're going to get there. But before we do that, what's the challenge that you're facing right now? What's the obstacle? And what I hear is many different things, right? And so I dig a little deeper after asking questions. And that just gives me the opportunity to then say, well, what is it that we need to release? Is it anger and all these other heavy emotions like anger and sadness? We release those, but also what are these limiting beliefs that have you thinking that you can't become this person that you want to become? Because that's where it really lies, right? Beliefs being one of the greatest levels of change, one of the deepest levels of change, because it's working with that subconscious mind. That's what the work really happens, is when you get into the subconscious. So first things first is really just releasing and letting that mist clear so that you can then gain that clarity to go to the island.
Beautiful. Thank you. So let's say that someone is becoming who they want to be. They're in that, they finally have gotten into that identity of who they want to be, but they're worried about sustainability. So they're like,
Mm,
I'm here, but what if something happens to me, knock me down? Am I gonna go back there? And there is there certain things we need to do to keep ourselves like emotionally fit, or um keeping on the right path and continuing the way we want to continue?
I'm a really firm believer on, once you release those emotions, then you create the life that you want to live. And part of creating the life that you want to live is really asking yourself, what do I want? And when you get clear on what do you want, you're able to take daily steps for you to get there. And so one of the ways that I love for people to honor themselves is really creating a routine. Creating a routine can look like different things, but that can mean, having a coach, right? Having someone to guide you, whether that's on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, or you decide that you want to do a release session, right? Maybe once a quarter or even once a year, whatever that may look like for you. I'm also a really big advocate for hypnosis. I know that a lot of people, when they think of hypnosis, they think of the hypnosis shows and they're like, oh, I'm not going to be in control of my body. I'm like, no, that's not what happened. That is not what is happening here. Like, literally, this is what happens with hypnosis. Close your eyes, open your eyes. That's what it feels like. You're always in control of your body. You're always in control of your mind. If I tell you to hop on one foot and you don't want to do that, then you're not going to do it. And what I think, or what makes hypnosis so powerful, is that it works at the subconscious level. It's literally one of those things where you are able to directly speak to the subconscious mind, which is responsible for 95% of your daily actions. And so that's why I keep talking about subconscious, and I want to let the people know why it's so important and why I keep bringing it up is because the subconscious is where the real change happens for you to get into that daily routine, for you to continue to honor yourself, for you to stay on track. And so when you're working with so many different components, not only at the conscious level, but also at the subconscious level, that's where the real change happens. And that's also where you're able to then continue to create this routine that just works for you. So between releasing, between hypnosis, also being very intentional with your day. And so, what I personally like to do is that I'm very intentional with my entire day, but specifically my mornings, and just having work that grounds me. So, I do 4 different actions that I take in the morning. One of them being that I practice gratitude every single morning when I wake up. And gratitude is one of those emotions where when you allow yourself to really be in gratitude, life, I think, just becomes one of the best things ever because it's just like, I'm just grateful for breathing right now. You know what I mean? There's so many people who did not have the opportunity to wake up this morning or wake up today, rather. And here you are breathing worthy, right? And then also having a moment of prayer, a moment of asking what I want, but also just being asked to be guided as well. A moment of meditation. I got into meditation around the same time that I actually got into gratitude, and that was around maybe 2 to 3 years ago, and it has just completely transformed my life. And I'll say specifically with meditation, the reason why I find it so powerful is because with meditation, you I personally use that time to really just sit in the stillness. And there is so much peace that comes in the stillness. And I know that a lot of people can get antsy during meditation, or they'll say, "Oh, I'm getting all these thoughts that are coming in." Just let the thoughts flow in and let them flow out and just work your way up. I started with literally doing 15-minute meditations, and then you can work your way up to 30 minutes, and you can work your way up to an hour. It can also look like you just doing a 1-minute meditation every hour, which I also really enjoy. That's part of the routine of just helping you to step into that new identity, helping you to reconnect with yourself and get back before you step into anything else. And then also, the fourth thing that I do in the morning is visualization. And visualization um, really allows me to just put my subconscious mind and my conscious mind on this train track of where I want it to go during the day. So I literally see everything. And I think that has definitely made a difference in my life because I'm like, this is where we are going. And in the back of my head, I'm like, even if the day doesn't go as planned, I'm still grateful, but this is where I would like to go. And this is the day that I have planned. And that helps you with your routine and helps you really step into this identity and allows you to stay on track. So those are the 4 that I absolutely keep around me because it helps me stay grounded. And then also they're dependent on me. It's me who is in charge of it. And because of that, no matter where I go, whether that's to a conference, on vacation, or I'm at home, I'm able to practice those 4 moments or those 4 actions just because they're dependent on me.
So we talked a lot about mindset and getting your mind in the right place and uh, you know, clearing the limiting beliefs. But I'd like to get a little more practical now. So
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to actually the action piece, because it's so easy to be in your mind and imagining these things, and it's like, oh, I'm so happy when I'm doing my visualization. But if you
Yes.
don't have inspired action, like nothing happens. So like in my book I outline like, hey, if you want to put something into your life, you actually have to put it on the schedule. So is there any tools or any things you use with your clients to help them actually put things into action so it's actually happening, they're not just thinking about it?
Yes, literally nothing. I always say that the smallest action is far better than the grandest intention. And so you can have all these beautiful ideas, which will probably change the world, will serve so many people. But if you aren't doing any work, then they're just going to sit in your head and they will not manifest. Which is like a whole different conversation with people saying, if you just think about it, it will come up. And it's just like, if you plan to have $1 million business, you are going to have to put some work in.
Mhm.
And so, what I really enjoy doing is creating a plan, right? Creating a plan where it's step by step of what is that outcome that they are looking for, and then what are 3 main goals that we can look at to help you achieve that outcome. And then for each goal, what are the mini goals? So, for example, let's say someone did have a goal of going from making, let's say, 5K a month to making 10K a month within their business. And so then I would say, okay, so out the outcome, right, would be the 10K. And what are 3 goals that you can focus on within your business to help you get there? And so that may look like them saying, well, then I would want to focus on increasing my visibility. So that's another goal that they have. And then another thing they may say is that, oh, I actually want to also have this new program to come out. And then I also want to, let's say, add 250 more people on my email list. So then you have those 3 goals. And then it's like, so what are the mini goals to help you get there? And not only what are the mini goals, but specifically the way that you write your goals are so important. And so actually having a format for them to follow when they are writing their goals, when they are writing their outcomes. And I do use SMART goals, but I use SMART goals and make them smarter, right? Because everyone comes in and they're like, well, I've done SMART goals before. And I'm like, but you haven't done them quite like this. Because a lot of times what happens is that we're just not taught properly. We're not taught how to properly write our goals, right? And you literally just writing your goal on the paper can have a substantial impact on if you actually reach this goal. You having an accountability partner or having a coach makes you 95% more likely to actually reach that goal. And what I've seen, right, is that even with SMART goals, or the way that people usually write their goals, or the way that we were taught to write our goals, it's all dealing with the subconscious. And what do we know about the subconscious? It's only about 5 to 10% responsible for our daily actions. And that's what we're talking about here. It's about, okay, we got the idea, but let's get to the action part. And so if you're only consciously aware of around maybe 5 to 10% max of your actions, that means there's a 95% that you are just not aware of. And so it's how do we get that 95% on track with what we're doing? And one thing that is really big is part of that visualization piece actually is making sure that you are getting your senses right attached to this goal. So you're making sure that you are creating this picture of what it will look like when you accomplish the goal. But not only what the picture will look like, but what will you hear? And also how will you feel? And what is it that you already have for you to accomplish this goal? And I'll say we put it on the paper and then we just go down after you write out the goal, the way with the format where you're dealing with both your conscious and your subconscious. So SMART goals to make them smarter. And then just having that check-in to be able to actually do your goal. And what I will say is that sometimes when people are doing goals, another way to reinforce, like I said, is that hypnosis and using hypnosis as a way for you to think about your goal and what will happen when you are achieving this goal and what will this look like. It's amazing because the subconscious mind is just that powerful and we just don't use it enough. And I'm like, we should learn about this when we're in elementary school. But yeah, it's just one of those things where making sure that you get that conscious mind and that subconscious mind on the same track so that you are able to not only have these ideas that you are consciously aware of and you want to create and you want to do, but making sure that the action behind it is there to where you also feel that you're actually taking the action just naturally, you know?
Yes. So if people wanted to connect with you, how do they find you? And just talk about, your programs or how you work with people at this point.
Yes, so you all can find me. I'm on YouTube, and my channel is at Imani Adia, Imaniadia. That's also my Instagram name as well, and also my Facebook page name. And then also right now, what I have going on in terms of offers. So I do have a VIP day. If you know that you are a person where you are just ready to have the ultimate breakthrough, you are ready to release, create, and honor your life, then this session is for you because it's going to fast track your transformation. In literally just one day, we're going to get all of the work done. And then also, I do work with different teams and organizations and doing wellness days for them. I'm a firm believer that you lead you lead from the inside out, and so when you invest in your team, that's when you get the biggest return on your investment, right? Is making sure that you remind yourself that you're leaders, that you're employees, that you yourself, you're a human. And so some of the things that may be going at home can also come into work. Or that meeting that you all had 6 months ago and someone felt some type of way about is continue to fester over time. And so what is that doing to your culture? What is that doing to the way that someone shows up to work? And so just making sure that personal wellness is meeting team wellness. And so if whether your company is doing amazing, you're like, I just want to pour into my people and I want them to be able to have this one of a kind experience where they are really able to know that we care about them at this organization, and that whatever they may be carrying, we want them to release it. We want them to continue to create, and we want them to continue to honor themselves. And then we also do some teamwork within that as well. Or if you may say, we've been struggling for a really long time as a team. It's one thing to have maybe a bad month. It's another thing to have a bad year. And so when you start having a bad year at your company, that's really the time to look in. And so I work with teams and different organizations just to have that team wellness and personal wellness meet. And then I also have some amazing programs that I'm actually working on. I actually haven't told anyone this, so y'all, this is like a sneak peek. But I have a mindset challenge that is coming out in August. And then I have another program that is coming out where I am choosing or will be working with a cohort of 10 people to actually release, create, and define their own lives. Just because I know that the power of community is just undeniable. So to be able to go through this process as a group and as a cohort is something that is amazing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So now I have a personal question. What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
I will say two things, really. Happiness and fulfillment for me is really just every day I'm able to bet on myself. And what does that look like? It looks like me saying, I want to start this company and I know that I can do it. I know that I'm worthy. I also have the skills and I have the experience. And so, what does that look like to be able to show up for people, to be able to just even on my YouTube channel, be able to give away free content that I know that is helping people and changing their lives, and people putting in the comments on social media or just meeting with people and talking with them and knowing that I'm making an impact that really fills me up inside. And then also that self fulfillment piece of just I really am just in so much gratitude, and I'm really at a place in my life where I know what peace is. And so that is what every day, that is what I want to feel. And so that is my fulfillment. And my happiness is to know that I have felt peace and that I intentionally create peace in my life, especially in the morning. That's where I get my peace. And then also at night. So even though there may be chaos going around me, just knowing what peace feels like is amazing. I talk about peace all the time. I'm like, joy is amazing. It really is. And happiness and to be ecstatic and to be excited. I love it. But to also find peace within myself, with myself as well. Like I can really sit with myself and just be, I'm good. I'm good.
I love that. And we all want peace. I don't know anyone that doesn't want to have that peace, calm,
Hmm.
smooth river,
Yeah,
flowing.
and we all deserve it. And I really believe that it's possible. It's just getting to that place where you are not worried about what other people are thinking about you. Like you're not going for those societal expectations. Because when I released that, I was able to really be content with just who I am. And I'm a firm believer that all of us, like who we are at a core level, at a soul level, is that we're limitless souls. We're infinite. We can do anything. We're just having this human experience, right? We're just in these bodies. But when you're able to answer the question, who are you, without automatically explaining what you do, when you know who you are and you're able to show up as that, like your most authentic self every single day, for me, that's where I found the peace. And I think that's where the peace really lives.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for all your wisdom.
Thank you for having me, Kimberly. This podcast is absolutely amazing. I've been watching episodes, so thank you.
Yeah, so I have one last question before we finish. What is your best advice in living an incredible, amazing life?
I feel like I just gave it, but really, it really is about you remembering who you are, which is a limitless, infinite soul. What does that mean? That means you can do anything and everything your heart desires. And when you decide that you are going to show up as your most authentic self, it is not only a gift that you give to yourself, it is a gift that you give to your family, it's a gift that you give to your community, and it's a gift that you give to the world. So, whatever you're going through right now, know that if you could just continue to strive to be the most authentic version of yourself and to really step into that, and that's a journey, right? And it actually has no destination. You just continue to be better, but living that incredible life starts with you going inside of yourself and really sitting with yourself and asking yourself those questions and just allowing yourself to be.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Imani.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Yeah, we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay.